Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising trilogy, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again. Each book is a compilation of features about cruisers and cruise and travel personalities from around the world. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and on this bonus episode of the Joy of Cruising podcast, I am delighted to welcome Stephanie and her mom, Marinita. Let me preface my intro of Stephanie and Marinita's story by pointing out to you that a few weeks ago I did a fun episode called The Godmother and referred to it as a modern-day fairy tale. Well, I just learned of another modern-day fairy tale, a sweet Mother's Day-oriented tale that I would have found compelling in and of itself. What made it extra special for me was when I clicked on a Holland America Line blog post, I recognized in the accompanying photo of Stephanie and Marinita that I knew Marinita from when we worked together several years ago in Punta Gorda, Florida. We were board members together on a nonprofit, the Blanchard House African American Cultural Museum. We also were Facebook friends. When I read the post, some other considerations made me that much more interested. First of all, Marinita and I both grew up in Brooklyn and moved to Long Island. The blog post discussed a Holland America Line cruise to Alaska that Stephanie and her mom sailed. As you know, recently we did a podcast episode, Fire and Ice, which detailed our own cruise to Alaska. So I couldn't wait to compare and contrast Alaska experiences with them. Stephanie and Marinita's cruise was the result of a touching letter Stephanie sent to the NBC Today show about her relationship with her mom in response to a Mother's Day brunch challenge or competition. And perhaps most amazingly, I learned from the blog post that Marinita was 88 years old, which means when we worked together, Marinita was 85. I'd have never guessed that. I am so appreciative they agreed to share such a beautiful story with the listeners of the Joy of Cruising podcast. Stephanie and Marinita, welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, first of all, good to meet you, Stephanie, and Marinita, it's good to catch back up with you after a few years. How are you both doing?
Well, I'm doing fine, Paul. And I must say right at the beginning, it was a wonderful cruise. I enjoyed it very much. It was nice to be with my daughter, just the two of us, for those 7 days. The whole experience was excellent.
Yeah, I'm doing great too. This is really, thank you so much for the invitation. What a great opportunity. Very fun.
So before we discuss your amazing journey, tell our listeners about yourselves. For each of you, where you're from, where do you live, anything you would like to share.
Should I start first?
Sure.
Stephanie?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first, I am from Puerto Rico. I was born there, and I came here to the U.S. When I was about 10 and a half years old. And I had all my schooling here after I came here. And it was quite a change for me. Quite different from the way I lived and where we were as to being in an apartment, here and with a lot of family members and all that. But anyway, then, life went on and I finished school, worked, got married, and had 3 children. And I enjoy many things, reading most. It's sort of a hobby with me. And I divided a lot of time to my family and just guiding them and seeing that their life started well and hopefully will end well.
All right, I'm up. Okay. So my name is Stephanie DeGarabedian. I'm originally from Baldwin, Long Island. My parents moved us to Long Island when I was 5. And then now I live in Island Park, New York, with my husband. So we also own a bicycle store in Oceanside. So that's my husband's, his business. And I have 3 children, and I 2 girls and a boy. And I feel like my life has been shaped by kind of 3 different things. My undergraduate work at Colgate, my graduate school at George Washington University, which is where I was introduced to the nonprofit sector, which is where I work now for pancreatic cancer research. And also being married, I'm almost married 25 years. And so I feel like those 3 things have shaped my life up until now.
Thank you. So let me ask, prior to learning that your outreach to the Today Show would ultimately involve a cruise, talk about each of your cruising backgrounds prior to that, if any.
Okay, well, I will start. My first cruise was in the 80s, and we went on, I think, was Carnival Lines to the Caribbean, and it was a huge group. Well, huge, not that huge, but I think there were about 18 of us, and it was a great experience. And dinner time was party time, and we all interacted, and there was conga lines and a lot of laughter, a lot of interaction with the staff. So it was a very nice cruise, all in all, and we had excellent weather. That was my first one. Thereafter, when I moved from Long Island to Florida, I started taking short cruises, those weekend to the Bahamas, and we did that a few times, and to I think Cozumel. And then my last cruise before Alaska was to Puerto Rico, and it was on the Celebrity lines, cruise lines. It was a wonderful cruise, a wonderful experience. And again, there were, the food and everything was excellent. And then years went by, and no more cruising until the surprise of that we have won a cruise to go to Alaska, which I never included in my dreams to see Alaska. So I feel I was very fortunate. I enjoyed it. It's very different, but we were so lucky. The weather was beautiful. We visited various like Sitka and Juneau. And unfortunately, Vancouver was just a short period of time. I would have liked to spend more time there and sort of explore more the city. Is a beautiful architecture there, I noticed.
Well, Marinetta, you mentioned, being in Florida and getting to cruise, quite often because of the proximity to the port. That was the best thing about Florida for me. As you know, I lived there. I lived there, I guess, 9 years, and there were some highlights, but that was probably the top highlight, is being able to cruise almost at the, on the spur of the moment.
Right. It was for a weekend cruise. It was inexpensive, and so it was like a quick getaway.
So on that first cruise that you did, Marinetta, did you get hooked right away, or is it something that had to grow on you?
It had to grow on me. It was the first cruise was quite an experience, and but I really got into cruising more frequently when I moved to Florida. And like you say, it was the accessibility of the cruise lines, the prices for weekend cruises and things like that.
How about you, Stephanie? Did you have a cruise background before you reached out to the Today Show?
So my cruise background is very different from my mother's. So I had been on only one cruise before Alaska. And quite honestly, the first thing is I actually had a fear of being on the open ocean. So I had to get over that fear and made myself. So my husband and I were like, okay, we need to get over that and get on a cruise. So we took a cruise on Royal Caribbean. And quite honestly, it was not the best experience. It was an old ship. They said it was from 1988. It was a short cruise to the Caribbean. So it was, the one highlight of that was they had that separate island that they go to have like a barbecue for the day. And that was really nice. But, overall, I have to say my first impression of a cruise wasn't so great. But Alaska changed all of that for the, to as far as cruising, it definitely had me rethink the whole idea of cruising after such a positive experience.
Mm-hmm. How long ago was that Royal Caribbean cruise?
Oh boy. So that was like 20 years ago. Okay. So it was a long time ago. And it was kind of the whole idea was to get over this phobia of being on the open ocean and knowing like that's, why are you afraid of that type of thing? And so that, I have to say a cruise ship overall, you don't even know you're on a big ship. Like it's such a smooth ride. So I feel like, all right, well, the Royal Caribbean cruise helped me get over that phobia, but it wasn't the classy, elegant, really wonderful experience I had on Holland America Line.
Well, like you approaching my first cruise, I was afraid of the open water. As you know, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I'm not ashamed to say I never learned to swim. So the only water I ever saw, we would occasionally go to Coney Island.
Right.
Yeah, so I had some trepidation approaching that first cruise. By the way, the reason I asked you how long ago was that island that you mentioned, now it's been developed into, they spent a couple of $100 million, and it's like a Disney, it's like an amusement park. So yeah, they have a huge water park there, and all kind of eateries and pools. Yeah, so it's a big deal now.
That is different. When I went, it was like basic.
Yeah.
It was like,
So Stephanie, take us through what led to your letter to NBC, and then talk about their response.
Sure. Thank you for that question. It's definitely been a highlight of my 56 years. So I love the Today Show. I think if you know me, that's no secret. Like I really enjoy the show, the whole, they're on from 7 to like 11 in the morning. And I basically have enjoyed all those different hours with the different personalities. And this one Friday morning, I remember it was Earth Day of 2022. I was having my coffee. It was a morning before I was going to get on my computer to start working. And I hear the Today Show say, send us your nomination for a special mother in your life for our Mother's Day brunch that we're going to have on the plaza. And it my ears perked up because I was like, I could do that. Let me go check out what the form is like on the online. And it was extremely simple. It was really just put down what you felt about the person you're nominating and send us a picture of the two of you. So I really kind of did this free association, just dumped my thoughts about my mom, who's been so special to me, on this form, and didn't think twice about it. I didn't edit it. I just wrote it from my heart, and I didn't want to think twice about it. Found a picture and sent it in, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And so that was a Friday, and the next Wednesday they called me on my cell, and quite honestly, I didn't recognize the number, so I didn't pick it up. I was like, who's calling? And I didn't pick it up. So then after I was actually at lunch, I said to my friend, I should check and see who called me. And it was NBC. and they said, oh, we really liked your story and we really liked your picture and we'd like you to join us on the plaza for the Mother's Day brunch. And I was really kind of like, wow, like I didn't expect any response. Like I really was like, let me just do this because it gave me a chance to write about my mom and my feelings for her, but really honestly didn't expect anything. And then, 10 days later was Mother's Day, and they sent me the invitation, and, my mom was going to be in Long Island, was going to be in New York for Mother's Day anyway. So it wasn't like any extra thing that she had to be here. So it all kind of fell in place. And it was just a very exciting. It was really exciting. Even their response, it was very exciting.
Now, my understanding is that, you and Mom went to the Today Show set thinking it was going to be the brunch. And that was the, I hate to say payoff, that was the reward
yes.
for being accepted.
Right.
Tell us what happened on set.
Yeah, so exactly that, Paul. We went on set. The experience to me was the prize, and even seeing the personalities. We had a lovely breakfast, and there were 19 other mother-daughter couples on the plaza. So there were 40 people altogether. And they were interviewing different couples throughout the morning and highlighting their story. And so they get to one mother-daughter couple. So the mom was going to be a new grandma and the daughter is going to be a new mom, and they're interviewing them. And shortly thereafter, Al Roker and Carson Daly come out with sailor hats and this luggage they're pulling. And my mom and I are like, isn't that so nice? Like we're thinking they're going to give the new mom and new grandma some trip somewhere, and they're about to announce it. And they actually announced that all the moms on the plaza have won a trip to Alaska. And we were just kind of stunned, wait a minute, what just happened? Right, Mom? We were just kind of did you just win a trip to Alaska? It was really unbelievable.
I'll bet. That just sounds amazing. So were the other couples on the same cruise as you, or you all had to pick them, whenever the time fit?
Yeah, we actually didn't see anyone from the show.
Okay.
And mind you, because I know, Paul, that you cruised to Alaska recently. There's the short, limited time period of cruising to Alaska. So they only gave us a certain time frame where we could respond and get on the cruise. And it ended up being 1 week that we were able to utilize that fit into the whole schedule. So we think that, we wanted to see other couples. We had interacted with some of the moms and daughters, and that was a lot of fun. So we're hoping to see them again. And the ship was not at capacity. It was definitely not fully, it wasn't at full capacity. So we felt if they were on board, we probably would have seen them. So yeah, we don't know if they just weren't able to come or the timing didn't work out because we had to take the trip by the summer of 2022.
We'll be back after a quick break.
G'day, I'm Craig.
And I'm Joshua, and we are the hosts of the Treasures of Our Town podcast.
We are travelers that explore cities and towns through location-based games like geocaching.
Let us guide you through the hidden paths and unexpected corners of towns throughout the United States, unlocking secrets that only the locals know.
With Treasures of Our Town, every episode is a new opportunity to explore a new town and find hidden gems within it.
So what are you waiting for?
Start your adventure today.
So let's talk about Alaska. Had either of you, I doubt you, Stephanie, with only one cruise, but had either of you ever thought you'd travel to Alaska?
I never really included Alaska in my traveling, where I wanted to go. Usually, I went to the Caribbean, the usual, St. Martin and Bahamas and so forth, and Puerto Rico. But Alaska just seems so far away. And I mean, this was such a good trip, and it was such a surprise. And it was something that I most likely I never would have done if it wasn't that we won that trip. So that opened a whole view of cruising of a different way.
How about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I agree. Alaska to me was like, this kind of like place, even though it's in the US, that I would, when would I ever get there? And quite honestly, when I think of vacation, I do think of warmth, like the Caribbean as well. And, like sitting on the beach. And so that, so Alaska, although I love being outdoors and I'm very active and I do love that whole part, which is also very Alaska. But that was, I think, part of the kind of like the wonderful icing on top was that it pushed us to a location we never would have picked ourselves. Like that was really.
So take us through the cruise. Talk about the ship, talk about your embarkation, your highlights at the various ports, excursions, food, shows. Give it to us.
Well, so Mom, do you want to start? Do you want to start with?
Well, I'll start briefly. We stayed at a hotel overnight because we had to depart early the next day. And I must say that everything just went very smoothly. Embarkation, there were people available to let us know where to go, what to do. So it was really very well organized. And we had no problems at all. Everything just went around very smoothly. And then we got into, and we saw, once you see the ship, you say, "Oh my goodness!"
What was the ship again?
What was the name, Steph? I don't know.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that just slipped my mind.
Well, it's okay. I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say, so one of the things was, so we flew on, so I want to give a plug also to Alaska Airlines because we flew from New York to Seattle.
I
and they were an amazing, they were an amazing airline. And the day we embarked in Seattle, it was like a day, like a summer sunny, unusually sunny and warm for Seattle. So I think we were also blessed with this beautiful weather the day we were leaving. And they had like these photo ops and they had people taking photos as you were entering. And the whole atmosphere was immediately like this festive, happy, positive experience. Like you saw groups of people coming on as families. And so it was very happy. And as far as like the shows were incredible, like Broadway quality shows, like, and every night you had this, whether it was a dance show or dueling piano show or like blues dance or dance music at night. I mean, it was like you would never have done this on your own, like the amount of entertainment. My mom is a classical music person, so we had the Lincoln Center Quartet on board, which to me was amazingly like classy. I thought that it was so classy. They did this every day before you went to port. They did almost like this TED Talk. It was like an educational introduction to what you were about to experience at that port. So I thought that was also really clever that one, they had, the ship's cruise director was incredibly articulate and was a great speaker. And there was so much education. So you knew the people, the background of the Alaskan natives that were like part of the port you were going to see. Like it wasn't just like, all right, we're letting you out of the ship and like, go for it. It was like, they were able to introduce you before you left to what you're going to experience. And the food, we had the complimentary food program, like the one that came with the prize that the restaurants, the meals, everything was just top notch. It just was incredibly well done. Like everything.
So talk about your itinerary.
So as far as like what our day would be like?
What ports?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like the first port we went to was called Juneau. And what was interesting about that port was that it was like a 80-degree summer day. It was hot. And we were told by anyone that went to Alaska, dress in layers, you're going to be cold, it's going to be misty, like you wear rain gear, like all of that. So we're like in all these layers, and we went on a whale watching excursion that was really fun. But we were literally like at the window of the boat trying to get air. It was so hot. Right, Mom?
Yes,
like,
yes.
Yeah. What did you think of that?
That was a very exciting excursion. The idea of the whales, and we did see a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did stop in Juneau. Now, when we stopped, it was cold. When I say cold, I mean especially relative to you. It was like 40 degrees.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
And so we were dressed appropriately. And
what time of year did you go? Like what was
in May?
In May. Okay.
Yeah, just one. So we had read a lot. We had purchased thermal underwear. My daughter got me some really nice hunter boots and a rain poncho because we heard it rains like crazy. It never rained the whole time we were there. It never rained, but it was cold in Juneau. Our excursion in Juneau was the Mendenhall Glacier.
Okay.
And then we went to as part of the same tour, we went to a salmon bank.
Oh,
salmon bank.
Okay.
And it was outside. It was really nice. Okay, where'd you go next?
So next we went to Sitka. And that was really interesting because it had like very old Russian churches. So like, these original churches that were established by the Russian people that were they were beautiful. It was a beautiful church. The town itself was kind of depressed, but it had this like beautiful history to it. And then
we skipped Sitka. Our ship didn't go to Sitka.
Okay. Yeah. It was a short, right, Mom? Like we weren't.
It was. I enjoy. Is that what the like Eastern European church?
Yeah.
That we enjoy. Just looking at all the religious items and things like that.
Right.
Paul, what I do want to say, because this was something that while we were cruising one afternoon, I attended a performance of the quartet. And I tell you, like going to Alaska, being on a cruise, and they played music by a famous Puerto Rican composer named Rafael Hernandez, who happened to be a friend of my father. My father was a music teacher. And it was great, the performance and the music as they interpreted. So that was really a very high point of the cruise. Never would I thought I would be on a cruise to Alaska and listen to this composer's music. So that was extra special to me.
Now, did you request
No,
that?
no, it was part of what they had scheduled for the performance.
Wow.
So that was really
Wow.
something. I told Stephanie, because she didn't go, she did something else during that time. And I said, you have no idea what just happened. I was just not surprised, but I was just so pleased that I listened to this music that I had listened, for years. And that they would have this very famous composer, and it was just, and the arrangements was excellent. It was wonderful.
Sounds like that was a highlight.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you were saying Ketchikan you went to next. We also did Ketchikan. What you do there?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big shopping
Yes.
area. That's what I remember. It was
very
funny,
walkable.
Very walkable. The shop owners, they definitely wanted you in their shops. They were very friendly and inviting, like asking you to come in. So so Ketchikan, what I remember was a lot of really just walking around the local businesses.
Very commercial in that area.
Yeah. We didn't do any excursions beyond Juneau. Juneau was really the only place we did an actual excursion separate from the ship.
Yeah, I went to Ketchikan, and a friend of mine, she actually goes by Professor Cruz. I teasingly call her Professor Alaska. She's a cruise blogger, and she suggested that I skip an excursion in Ketchikan because, like you said, it's very walkable. And in fact, that day I mentioned it was 40 in Juneau. It was 65 in Ketchikan. So I actually saw people, from the ship we were on, wearing short sleeves. So we weren't going to go that far, but we definitely didn't need what we had on. So
yeah,
and actually,
that was.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just you made me think that was interesting about we were told that it seems like the warmest week is the week we went, which is last week of June into July 4th weekend seems to be the warmest time of year to be in Alaska, where you'll get a little more temperate, what we're used to and where we live. So it just was interesting because I was really bracing for some wicked cold or rainy and it never got like that.
Yeah.
So
we have very good weather.
Good. Yeah, one of my daughters even got us these hand warmers, and we never opened them. So
right.
So
we all think of Alaska as snow and ice and polar bears, right?
So where'd you go next? Or was that Juneau, Sitka, Ketchikan?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Welcome to Generation X Paranormal. Each week on this show, Nicole and I will break down a paranormal incident, story, or any other account. So join us and welcome to Generation X Paranormal.
Yeah, and then was it Vancouver?
We had a very short time there. We went late. It was evening time, and I wish we would have more time in Vancouver because the city looked like it was a fun city. In the evening, there was a lot of musical activity around.
Well,
it was beautiful.
Well, Marinetta, I think you're right. We got to Vancouver early because we debarked at Vancouver, and our flight home wasn't until that night. So we got a city tour that
Mhm.
also took us to the airport. And
Nice.
as you heard my wife's talk on the podcast, Stephanie, she just thought Vancouver was just
Loved it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So
I would like to
Yeah,
visit
it was.
Vancouver again. That I would.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful at night, and it was just like we got pictures from Vancouver, and it's almost like, wow, they look like postcards.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of the things that was really impressive was when we went to that port, there were other cruise ships there. So it was kind of neat to see, like, I think there were like 3 cruise ships that were there at the same time, and they're just so massive. Like, these cruise ships are huge, and you don't really appreciate it till you see them all together. Like.
Now, did you cruise into I think it's called Glacier Bay State Park?
Oh, we did do that. Yes.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Did the park rangers board the ship?
No, so that one was more like they didn't well, I know that there were excursions that came off the ship and they did their own thing. But we stayed on, no one came on our ship, but we stayed on the ship, and but it was beautiful. I mean, the scenery was just, I mean, it's the pictures don't do it justice. Like, it's like you really had to see something like that in person. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't stop in Glacier Bay State Park, but we went through it, and yes, park rangers came on, and actually they were husband and wife, surprisingly. They boarded the ship, from their craft via ladder, and she gave like a running commentary over the PA system, and then her husband did a slideshow in the auditorium. Nice. So
that's very nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you go back to Alaska?
I feel like there's I feel like there's so many destinations to see. I probably wouldn't at this point. Like, I feel like there's so much to travel to. So that I don't know. I shouldn't say no, because you never know what happens, right, in life. But I think, like, right now, there's so many other things that I think I would want to see first before going back. But it was beautiful.
How about you, Marinetta?
Well, I would love to see Vancouver again, but spend like even a few days. And but again, I don't know how much traveling I will be doing in the future, but I would also like, one of the things I would love to see is Switzerland, Sweden. For some reason, I never went to those countries, and I've gone to Europe, Spain, Italy, but never to the Switzerland, Sweden, Norway. And I've been watching things on television, like documentaries about those countries, and it sort of appeals to me. But I don't know how much traveling I'll be doing.
So is another mother-daughter cruise in your thoughts?
I would love that. It would be a lot of fun. I mean, we're going to be traveling together for my nephew's wedding in Punta Cana in next February. So that's kind of our next adventure coming up. But another cruise, that would be fun, right, Mom? A short Caribbean.
Oh, yes, a short Caribbean cruise. And I hear things are picking up in Puerto Rico, so I don't know if I don't know the status of the island right now, because they had so much damage.
Oh, it's at least the part that I visited was fine. I went to Puerto Rico, and I went on a cruise in August with my granddaughter. And it was our birthday, so it was a birthday cruise.
Oh, nice.
And one of the stops was Puerto Rico. And we had a grand old time. Maybe I'll send you some photos. Really nice.
Steph, I would like to do that.
I know. Actually, my mom, she turns 90 next year. So I think maybe
oh my God.
You gave me a birthday idea, Paul.
Well, speaking of age, if I were you, Marinetta, I would tell everybody I run into. I'm 88 years old. I'm 89 years old. I would have that embroidered on my shirt because you are the best looking 89-year-old I've ever seen.
Why, thank you so much. What a compliment.
That's so nice.
So I was about to ask both of you, are you travelers in general? I mean, what do you have booked?
I mean, so for me right now, that Punta Cana, in February 2024 for my nephew's wedding and we'll be with the family, my mom and my brother. But my husband and I mentioned earlier, we're going to be celebrating 25 years next year, and he is dying to go to Italy. So that is what's the next thing on the horizon, is making that happen for him.
Well, let me help your husband out because we celebrated our 30th.
Oh, congrats.
And in October, and we went to Italy.
Oh, okay. We definitely need to. I need to hear your thoughts and where you went. And everything.
Yeah. We actually went to Italy, spent a week in I call it the countryside because it was a rural part of Italy. Actually, a week and a half, and then we got on a cruise and did the Mediterranean.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good thought.
Yeah, so I'm on your husband's side.
Okay. Wow.
Well, what's on your bucket list? Your long-term aspirations, travel or life in general?
Well, in my case, I just hope that my health, will be fine, because if you're not healthy, you can't do much. But I try to,
Right.
eat well, exercise, the usual, to sort of keep in shape. And I would like to go on a cruise with my daughter, another cruise, and I just like to enjoy whatever years I have left, doing things that I like, being with my grandchildren, and I have great grandchildren now, 2 little ones. And I'll never read all the things that I want to read. It just won't happen. But try to make a list and try to at least read what I think I want to read the most. And and just hopefully that I'll remain healthy and active.
Anything on your bucket list you want to highlight, Stephanie?
Yeah, I feel like my mom hit kind of all the major themes. I think thinking about longevity is important at any age, because you just want to be healthy into your, so that you can enjoy if you retire and like all of that. And like, I love traveling. I actually have a daughter who lives in Dublin, Ireland, went to school there.
Oh, wow.
So like one of my things is, to be able to go see her. I think, I'd love to do another cruise with my mom. She is a blast to go away with. She's just a lot of fun. She makes me laugh. And then my kids in general, I've really tried to instill in them this like wanderlust, this like love of exploring adventure. And so just kind of being able to spend some time with them, and do some adventurous, like fun stuff as a family. Because like when you grow up as a family, everyone does their own thing, and it's hard to do it all together. And so those experiences are really what I'd love to make happen. But I do like the one travel destination I do think about, because I have a friend in New Zealand, and she's like, if you ever can come out to New Zealand, I would, you could always stay with me and my family. And I think about that because that's another part of the world. I don't know if that would happen anytime soon, but it could be a neat experience,
Sure.
Have you ever been to that part of the world?
No. I've written, as you know, I've written several cruise books, and I have interviewed featured in the books people from Australia and New Zealand and plus all of the other people I've interviewed for the books. I always ask them what's on their bucket list, and that part of the world
Okay.
is on a lot of bucket lists. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we let you go, a couple of fun or light cruise questions, and then perhaps an oddball question that's not really related to cruising. So the first, and I just asked this question to get some ideas from people who have traveled on your on your Holland America cruise to Alaska. What was your favorite cruise drink or cruise food or both?
Well, I like the pina coladas because for some reason they always taste better on a ship.
Yep. Yep. We're right there. We're together, Marinette. I've started getting something called a Miami Vice, which is a pina colada mixed with a strawberry daiquiri.
Oh, and I heard of another one, pina colada mixed with Hennessy, cognac instead of rum.
Oh wow! Yeah, I hadn't heard that. Well, yeah, I've got something.
I tasted it once. It's good.
I've got something on my list to try.
And as far as food, well, on the Holland, I did. They have some very good fish dishes, which I enjoyed. So that was good, and I also I always like to try the seafood on a cruising ship, and they usually have some excellent recipes.
How about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I have to say, well, so the whole drink conversation between the two of you, I feel like I need to catch up a little bit because I feel like I love my white wine, but I think some more interesting, like fun drinks I gotta like incorporate. I'm a big breakfast person, and the thing I loved about being on a cruise in Holland America Line was, first of all, you have like this window water seat all the time. Like it's like that's my favorite thing, to be on the water. So that was always such a treat. And just like the variety of things you could have in the morning, the coffee was always delicious. I don't know if there are any oatmeal lovers out there, but I love oatmeal, and it was delicious on the cruise line. So it was nice to wake up and not have to cook anything, and you had like this whole spread of, any morning breakfast food that you love at your disposal. So that was fun.
Yeah. I agree with Stephanie. I enjoyed the breakfast, and it was like we started the day right with a nice good breakfast.
You sound like my wife. Her thing was white wine and oatmeal. Although I did, halfway through the cruise, I had her ordering a Miami Vice.
Well, I have to remember that drink for next time I order something, Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the next question about the cruise: what was your most memorable, or funny, or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
Oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll be honest, like the most memorable thing about Holland America Line was being pampered. Like, just like, I felt like there was always staff so friendly and wanting to help you. And our steward was like incredible. And the cruise director, I just felt like having that kind of pampering. I came home like, I like that attention, and it's all gone.
Something you can get used to.
Yeah. It was, and even like, the restaurant staff, and like you would walk through the ship and you were always asked, can I get you anything? Do you need anything? Like it was just constant.
Now, curiosity question: were they aware that you were contest winners?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
no.
so either. I
Okay.
don't think so. No, they were not. And just to add to what Stephanie said, definitely they have a very well-trained staff.
Mm-hmm.
They must invest a lot of time and energy and money
Mm-hmm.
because there's no complaint at all in those 7 days.
Mm-hmm. So Marinetta, what was your most memorable or funny or most embarrassing cruise or port experience, either on Holland America or any other cruises? Because you sound like you're a pretty experienced cruiser.
Well, I like, I have done a lot of those short cruises, like I said, that we can do here from Florida. And, but I must say, and I agree with Stephanie that the the host being the Holland America, everything was so well done that is memorable to me. The cleanliness of our rooms, the food, the staff. And so I was really very much impressed. And considering that we had won that trip and we were treated just like if we had paid a full amount ourselves. So that was and then I had said before, my little extra was that classical musical quartet. And like that was a special treat, like only for me. I know it wasn't, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, that was your highlight.
Yes.
So finally, I know that Stephanie and Marinetta's family and friends are listening. And so let me say welcome to family and friends listening. Here's the oddball question. Share one thing that my listeners and your family and friends don't know about Stephanie and Marinetta.
Oh dear. I can share one thing about my daughter. When she
Supposed to be about you, Mom.
No, but it's because I was with you that time. She won a scholarship to Colgate, but one of the things that she had to do was audition on how she plays the viola, and she practiced and practiced up to the last minute. And one of the things that she was able to get the scholarship was her participation in that musical piece that and the audition. It was very successful. So, and as far as me, I don't know. I'm just so glad that I have been able to witness, that I have lived so long, that I have been able to witness and learn and be involved with so many different things and people. Knowing different people, it's great, and learning from them. So I think my experience, and I have lived in New York and here in Florida, and of course in Puerto Rico. So, and I think all of those things have added a lot to my life experience.
Very, very good. Stephanie, how about you? Tell us, first of all, a question. Do you still play the viola?
Oh, I don't. I played up to my 20s, and it is something I always say I have to get back. So hopefully I have to make that happen for sure.
Yeah, make the commitment.
And here you are, someone who plays the viola, but you missed the orchestral performance that Marinetta was telling us about on the ship.
I know. I got to see one of theirs, and then the one I did miss that one that she went to a second day to watch a movie.
Well, I hope the movie was good.
It was good. It was good. Well, I think, I'm actually gonna do a switch like my mom did, because I don't know how many people know that my mom is like an incredible dancer. Like when there's Spanish music playing, like I remember my father and my mom were very good dancers, and it was always fun to watch them dance to some good salsa and merengue, and so I don't know how many people know that. And for myself, boy, I mean, I guess people that in my audience that may not know me as well is I just love just being active, fitness is a big thing for me, and is the health, like learning about nutrition and all of that is very important so that, you live as long as my mom in a healthy way and can experience all these. There's so many beautiful, wonderful things in the world that we can experience. And so I want to make sure I'm around to be able to do that.
Okay, very good. Well, Stephanie and Marinetta, thank you so much for agreeing to join us at the Joy of Cruising podcast and sharing what I find to be a really sweet story. You are both so lucky to have each other and to be rewarded by NBC Today Show, and continued all the best. And again, Marinetta,
Thank you.
It's good to talk to you again after several years. I see you on Facebook, but it's good to chat with you. And again, Stephanie, it was a delight to meet you.
Yeah, and this was a great opportunity, to do this podcast, and congratulations to you.
Well, thank you.
This, I guess, is your second career.
Second career. Yep. Well, thank.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the opportunity, Paul. I mean, yeah, like podcasts now are really growing, and it's such a great way for people to learn about different things, and what a nice way for you to share your experiences with people in this platform. And we are so grateful that we were able to continue to relive what happened last year, and you gave us that opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for coming on.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com, each for $16.99 plus shipping. Order the soon to be released The Joy of Cruising again, also at thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com for $18.99. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. Again, the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast. Enter to win a copy of The Joy of Cruising or Cruising Interrupted while supplies last at thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group, or both, to increase your chance to win. A winner will be announced on each show. Please leave us a review and tell a friend about us. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed the brief escape to the ocean. See you next week. Exciting news, passionate cruisers. The Joy of Cruising Again book was just released. Order the ebook at your favorite online retailer. The paperback can be ordered by copying the web address listed at the podcast website, www.thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. Don't forget to use the coupon code Joy of Cruising Podcast to get $4 off. We think you'll enjoy the new book as much as Paul enjoyed writing it, and we would love to hear your comments at the Joy of Cruising Again Facebook page or at the Joy of Cruising Instagram page. Thank you.